This is B2Bold, the podcast for B2B marketers and industry players who think differently and lead boldly. I'm Hayley Dole, and each episode I chat with boundary-pushing marketers about what it really takes to grow a brand in today's world. Hello and welcome. Today's guest is Stuart Matthewman, a highly regarded B2B marketing leader, B2B CMO of the Year finalist 2025, and former CMO of IR. Stuart has led global marketing teams across ASX-listed companies in sectors ranging from technology and telco to transport and government. Known for his entrepreneurial mindset, a whole-of-business approach, he's delivered transformational growth, rebuilt high-performing teams, and driven standout go-to-market strategies across Australia and the UK. At IR, he played a pivotal role in scaling the business, driving revenue and reshaping the brand. He's also a passionate advocate for customer experience, team culture, and the power of marketing to deliver measurable impact. Today we'll be talking about account-based marketing, or should I say account-based everything. Welcome, Stuart. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Haley. Thank you. That was a wonderful introduction. I think you should follow me around and be my hype person from now on. I'm really looking forward to today's discussion.
Yeah, me too. So let's start with the big picture. So you refer to ABM as account-based everything. What does that mean to you, and how does it differ from traditional account-based marketing?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So in my previous organisation, I think one of the challenges ABM has had typically is that within an organisation, it can be seen as a marketing initiative, hence account-based marketing. So we wanted to remove that and have the organisation understand that it's a whole of company transformation when you go down the account-based route. It's not just a marketing initiative. It involves sales, RevOps, your sales team, sales leadership, even client success. And so we called it account-based everything because everything that we did was around delivering opportunities or interactions with those accounts that we had identified for our account-based approach.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a little bit worried there because I thought you were going to say account-based everything was marketing does everything, but it's actually the opposite of that, where you're kind of looking to, bring the whole of the business along on the journey. Yeah, that's really good to see.
And I think that's a really good point because sometimes that is the case, and that's hence the name change, is that it is expected marketing does it all, and it really is a whole of business movement that will make it successful.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes just that subtle kind of tweak to how you position it can make a really big difference to how it's kind of adopted across the business. So looking back on your time at IR and other roles, what sparked the shift towards ABM and your marketing strategy? Was it typically a market need, a sales alignment issue, or something else?
Yeah, look, I think it was really, a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B. It was as an organization, we decided that we needed to be really focused on delivering opportunities to the sales teams and to the organization in the following year to be able to hit budgets. And it really allowed us to get hyper focused on the activities we were doing. So it was around ensuring that so from a marketing perspective, that the activities we were doing were targeting the right organizations and that we could track ROI because, we had a very finite budget and finite resources within the team. We didn't have a huge budget and huge team, which can quite often be the case in B2B. It was also really about building alignment between the marketing and sales teams, making sure that we were all going after the same accounts. So one of the things that we were very open up and front about at the beginning was that IR and IR marketing didn't invent an account-based approach. It's something that has been done by many organizations very successfully in many different verticals. And so one of the important things was to understand, we'll take the best bits of what has been done previously and then mold it towards how we needed to deliver that program based on, the technology we had, the people we had, the resources we had. And so within crafting that program, it allowed the team to get, as I said, really focused on the accounts we're going after, ensuring we had good ROI and really building strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it can quite often be that marketing or sales get excited about something and just kind of run off and start doing something without getting that alignment and strategy in place first. And then, you kind of get down the track and it's really hard to bring that back together. So yeah, account-based marketing really kind of helps bring everyone onto the same page with that. So with ABM often gets confused with regular targeted outbound campaigns. What were some of the misconceptions or internal pushback that you had to navigate when rolling it out?
Yeah, and this goes back to your point previously. It would be that marketing would do our thing and sales would do their thing, and for example, and nothing would change. And so, and because if it was account-based marketing, it would be all marketing would be driving the program, and we'd lob opportunities or leads over to the sales teams, and then they'd work on those. And so that was one of the big misconceptions, and one of the I guess preconceived notions that we had within the organization around what a ABE would look like. Now, we one of the most important things was that, as at the time I was CMO, was the alignment between myself and the head of sales, and so it's really driving that alignment from the top. It can be quite difficult. Say if the marketing manager says, "Hey, I want to roll out an account-based program," and the head of sales isn't bought in. So getting that alignment right from the top and then driving it through the marketing org and the sales org is super important. One of the other pushbacks we had was around the lift that would be potentially required from salespeople in some instances, and so that might be doing outreach, so sending emails, LinkedIn posts, LinkedIn views, making calls. And if you've got a very expensive sales resource, quite often they don't want to be doing that. They want to be working on large accounts and closing big deals. And so as the program evolved, some of the ways that we addressed this was with really sales leadership explaining the value of the salespeople doing that outreach, having shared dashboards. So we looked at metrics together to be able to see the success of the program, and then bringing in automation where we could to enable the program to scale out as it proved to be more successful.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, account-based marketing can kind of mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So it's really important to kind of align on it before you start down the path of where you're going. So data, tech, and alignment are huge parts of the ABM success. So what were the key enablers or roadblocks that you encountered when trying to operationalize ABM at scale?
Yeah, like going back to that alignment point. So account-based activity, I kind of the story that I'm sharing now sounds like it's like those classic bands that have a great album and then everyone, but they've been jamming at it for years before they get famous. And the account-based programs within my previous organization was something that we had worked on for years, and we had a few misfires and a few attempts that didn't pan out. And one of the main reasons was around alignment, and it not having that alignment from the top down severely impacted the performance of those programs. So I can't stress enough how important that is. And also the ability for a program like this to bring alignment, having shared KPIs and shared dashboards and sharing the wins as well as the challenges between the two teams is super important. I think
Yeah,
I think going to your point about data and tech, I think they're really important, but my view, and people in my team previously will have heard this plenty of times, is that I love the saying "done beats perfect." And so when we started on this journey of this most recent iteration of the program, which is about 18 months ago, we agreed that we would start and that the program would evolve. So understanding that not everything's going to be perfect, and that the program we launched with 18 months ago would look quite different in 12 months' time, as long as we were adaptable and flexible throughout that journey to ensure the program evolved as our learnings evolved and our interaction with prospects and customers evolved.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it could be really easy to kind of just sit there at the start of a big project like account-based marketing and kind of get overwhelmed with things to the point where, you're sitting there trying to troubleshoot things before anything's even happened and you just don't even get it off the ground. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah.
takes a little bit of braveness to kind of get started, but the payouts, I'm sure, are tenfold.
Mm.
So ABM is often praised for driving focus, but it's also a resource-heavy approach. So, how did you balance the investment required with delivering ROI?
Yeah, spot on. It is resource and time intensive to get this right. I think one of the benefits we had with the latest iteration of the program was around the table at the exec level, we agreed that this was the path the organisation needed to go down. And so the investment within budget wasn't really a question. So we were given our budgets, and the understanding was that the investment of both time, financial resources, human capital would be around making sure this account-based program was successful. Um, Now ROI was measured across the organisation on a number um, of opportunities, and we're like most marketing teams within a B2B environment. We were under the microscope of how well we were investing our budget and what the return was. In previous years, up to prior to launching this program, we were getting around, for every dollar of marketing program spend, we'd get around $40 worth of pipeline, and this is selling large enterprise software deals. For the last year, it was up to about 85. So or just over 85. So we more than doubled the return on marketing budget investment. And as I said, I've touched on numerous times, the biggest key to that was really having an alignment between the sales and marketing team going after the same accounts. And it sounds like very simple, but it's amazed me how difficult it can be, and not just in the organization I've just been with, but prior to IR, other organizations I've worked in, is that sales are off doing one thing and marketing's off doing the other. And then there's all the finger pointing. Getting that alignment is so crucial to having this as a success.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like you had some good numbers from some of the campaigns you ran. So,
Mm.
congratulations on that. So, can you share an example of a moment where ABM really delivered? So, maybe a campaign, a deal, or a cross functional success story that stands out?
Yeah, so one from the last year was a really large US bank. They had actually been a client previously, and the people that were part of that team had left. They had a whole new team there, and they were trying to solve a problem within their payments environment. Um, they searched online to try and solve that problem, and we had some specific content created around that. They found that content, and from looking at the content and then viewing other bits and pieces on the website, reached out, and then with the sales team then took over that engagement, and an opportunity was born out of that. That usually, I mean, the sales cycle can be a very long time in enterprise software, and this one was a third of the time that it usually takes, because there was a pressing need. And now the important thing around that was the content was created as part of the keyword and research done around what would our ICP be looking for if they were looking for a solution to solve this problem. Now there was some internally that thought the content that was created was too rudimentary and no one would read it. But the idea, as many marketers who are watching this would know, is that it's to pique interest and to educate and get someone to start to engage with you. The handoff to sales was very important as well, because it's critical that if an opportunity or there's some engagement happens with a client or a prospect like that, that the sales teams are well briefed, they well understand. And so sales and marketing, and then post the original engagement, also the R&D and the tech team worked really closely on this client to ensure that the product was pitched properly, the client was engaged and happy, and it wasn't here's a lead, good luck. We worked hand in hand together throughout that sales pursuit. So yeah, it was that one. It just goes to show that if a client has a burning need, and sales times can be, particularly if you B2B and large complex sales pursuits, can really be shortened if you identify the need and the client really has in one of a better term, burning platform to take action.
Yeah, for sure. That's really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. So, on the flip side, were there any learning moments? So, perhaps a campaign that didn't go to plan or something you'd approach differently if you were starting again?
Yes, like I said, the current program has been very successful, but it wasn't the first time we had attempted this. For the first go that we had at trying to launch an account-based program, we went down the route of really hyper-personalizing the activity. And so that meant, and this is a number of years ago, and personalization has come a long way in this time, but personalized ads, personalized landing pages. We went after a smaller number of accounts and it didn't really work. And I think the reason that we struggled was one, that was so resource intensive for us and our team who didn't have a lot of resource that we just didn't have the bandwidth to deliver it correctly and probably the tools to do that either. And the other thing was that, there was like half a dozen accounts in this program and it's kind of, now, I'm not saying you should do it to hundreds of accounts, but it probably wasn't enough. Like, given our resource constraints, we probably didn't have the resource to go after enough accounts. So it was boom or bust. So if we landed one of these accounts, it was going to be great. But as many B2B marketers would know, if you read about from the Ehrenberg Bass Institute about the 95/5 rule, a lot of those clients aren't in market at any one time. And so if you're going after such a small finite amount, which is what we did at the time, it's very likely none of those clients are in market. And so, we spent time, resource, money, and we actually never got an opportunity out of it. And so we went back to the drawing board.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, like you say, it's, not always going to be perfect the first time. So you just brush yourself off and start again
Right, yeah.
with all those learnings on board. So wrapping up, so what is one bold idea you would love to try with account-based marketing or account-based everything if there were no limits?
Yes, I've often thought about this, and given the constraints we had from a resource perspective, and I know that a lot of B2B organizations are in that same boat, but I would love to have to incorporate some outdoor, which we never got the chance to do. I had a view that if we, let's say, for example, there were specific people within a specific count we knew we were going after, and we knew what building they were in, we could potentially do advertising within the lift wells, buying outdoor space around that building. I'm a big believer in outdoor because it has longevity, and I think particularly when people are sort of captured in a lift well, quite often they'll look at the screens that come up. And so that's something I would have loved to have tried, and even more so around an event, for example, like if you're attending a trade show and you can surround where you think those clients might be coming in at an airport or whatnot. I would love to have activated that, but maybe in the future when I get another chance.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe next time. So that's a wrap. So thank you so much, Stuart, for joining us today and sharing your insights into account-based everything.
Thanks, Haley. It's been great to chat with you. Cheers.